Hello, I am Marie-Cécile TARDIEU, Chief Operating Officer of Business France. I'm really happy to be here at BIG today to present you France 2030 and how can foreign investors be brought together with the French innovative systems. Many things are changing in the world. You might have some ideas about France, and I'm here today to present you what has changed, what is never changing about France, and what you could be with us changing in the future. First of all, what is Business France? Who are we? We are a national agency with a global footprint. What do? We promote France's attractiveness today, that's what I'm doing. We prospect, we support foreign investment in France, but more precisely, we could help you to have your project implemented in France. How many people work in Business France? We are here in Paris, more than 600 people, employees in the headquarters. We are more than 60 different nationalities. And abroad, we have more than 800 employees working both on investment and also helping French exporters to find trade partners all around the world. So that's a national agency that is at the service of the internationalization of the French economy in France and also outside of France. So as I said, many things are changing around the world, but at the same time, there are some really strong assets that are key strength of the French economy. And I would like to begin with that to present to you some of our French assets. We are a leading economy, and I will focus more precisely on innovation as it is what is BIG about. BIG is about innovation, speaking about all the people that are changing the French economy and the world economy. And in France, we have more than 300,000 researchers. We are second in the world for the field medals. We have 600,000 people working in research and development in France. We also have world-class infrastructures. So we have the people, we are leading economy, but we also have the infrastructure. And if we are #1 in Europe in hosting foreign investment, very often it's because of the really good infrastructures we have in France. And we are the first in OECD for funding research and development. We also have 1.6 billion funds raised for innovation. And we also have a workforce that is highly qualified. I think on the PowerPoint you might see that we have 71 Nobel Prize. I think we're just thinking ahead of the future Nobel Prize we're going to win, because this week we won 2, maybe you heard about it, but physics and literature this morning. But we have lots of researchers that are really recognized in the world, and we are second in Europe in patent applications. We also have 1 million engineers, and that number very often is underestimated, as Germany usually is seen as the country of engineers, but definitely France is also a country for engineers. And we also have a lot of efforts being made to have more apprentices. We doubled the number in the recent past years, and we're going to form more and more people in the engineering sciences. So that is, I would say, the structural reasons why usually investors come to France. But recently, as I mentioned, the world is changing. We are facing lots of risk, and we face the pandemic. And what happened during the pandemic was that we had a large recovery plan, the France Relance, that gave 100 billion for businesses and employment. And this money that came during the pandemic came after several years where we helped the environment to have a more friendly for business, pro-business environment. And we had 3 main changes in the recent years to help companies to develop in France. The first, and maybe you have some ideas about French taxation and what maybe you think is not so good for us. But if you look at what is reality, we reduced corporate taxation in the last years, so that now we have for corporate tax a level of 25% this year. That is a huge decline in corporate tax. We know also that there might be some hackneyed ideas about the French social model. This French social model that is really positive for many of you, the French way of life. Some people think it's romantic, but the social model, we try to keep it good for people who are living in France, and lots of companies are coming for the French way of life. But also, we helped to transform it so that there is more flexibility, predictability for companies who want to invest in France. And part of our job, Business France, as I mentioned, is to help companies when they have projects. And we are here, of course, to explain what is the French social model, to explain the adaptation of the different laws, labor laws recently, to help companies to deal when they have changes in their activities, sometimes with the redundancies and the reorganization of their company. We also, of course, have a high level of social security, but at the same time, we succeeded in lowering the security contribution in the low salaries. And also, we try to adapt more and more the skills of people for them to be adapted to the labor markets. Another idea you might have about France is it is complicated. Red tape. We're not the only country where it is complicated. But it is less and less, because we have made those progress in simplifying the economy. Lots of efforts were made not only for foreign companies, but also for the French companies to facilitate the industrial setup and to facilitate creating businesses in France. We have key turn industrial sites that have been selected. These kind of sites, we have cleared all the different procedures that might delay the project that have been are going to be implemented by companies. So we have more than 100 turnkey industrial sites where it is quite easy now, with the help of the local governments, to set up a business. So, as I mentioned, we have some ideas about France, but our job in Business France is to get the things right, to show the evolution that France has made in the recent years, and that is this evolution is simplifying the economy. And during the pandemic crisis, of course, trying to help the economy to go through the crisis, for companies to keep their employees and to be able to wait and see, thanks to the recovery plan. What we know about now the present situation is also that we have kind of talent war. Talent war means that everybody is looking for the best to come to work in their country or in their companies. And here at BIG, we can see how much the issue of talents is important. We can see that everybody here is with lots of ideas, initiatives, and entrepreneurship. And we all know that it would be great to gather the best talents on the different companies that would like to invest in France. So that's why we think, quite an attractive ecosystem for international talents. Those different schemes that we have, I would like to describe them now. We have the talent passport, which is a resident permits to welcome some family members, not only the people who are creating a company, it can be the whole family, to be sure that they can come easily and smoothly with all the procedures being helped for them, and they can stay 4 years. So we, thanks to this passport, talent passport, which is renewable after the four first years, we believe that we can bring for the long term people who would like to come and develop their activities in France. Secondly, of course, everybody knows the French tech, the red cock, and that is the French tech visa scheme that is dedicated for people in the tech talents that could be startup employees, investors, so that there is a special way for them to apply to the talent passports. Of course, I mentioned it, the quality of life, the social security, that is a huge difference when you can put above the wages the social security scheme that we have in France. And we have those bilateral agreements that make it possible for different nationalities to benefit from the social security in France. We have also now an attractive personal tax regime. It's a specific expatriation scheme up to 8 years. When you don't live yet in France and you come to France, you're sure your wages are not taxed over too much, and you can be sure that for 8 years the gain in salary that you can have or maintain from your past situation will be preserved. And of course, we have international education. All these different schemes, Business France is at your disposal to explain them to you and to get you through the different ways in the administration. So we have a website, Welcome to France, and you can go the different paths in our website so that you can explain what is your situation and see what are the different landmarks to prepare your coming to France. And if you don't find the information on the website, of course, you can send a question and Business France and the team in the Welcome will answer you. So that is, I would say, the past and the present. But also, we're building the future, and I'm here to present you what France 2030 is going to be for foreign investors that are interested in the French economy, and how we are transforming the French economy through France 2030. We had the COVID crisis, we had all the different difficulties in the supply chain. We now have war in some parts of Europe. We have some worries on inflation. But it's not a time to close, to worry. It's time for transformation. The main worry is the ecological transition. We all see the disruption in the climate, and we can imagine that if we don't change the way we build the economy, we will face more and more difficulties. So that's why France 2030 is a way to transform the French economy. It's a way to transform, to innovate, and it does it in a new way. A new way because it takes risk. The main idea of France 2030 is that we must bring innovation to industrialization. What we must do is trying to reduce the risk of those who are going to invest and try to build the future, in fact, the future of France, the future also of the planet. So France 2030 is an industry and innovation plan. And what is quite new is the link that is being made between the innovation in the industry. I mentioned that we have more, maybe something like 70 Nobel Prizes. That is really good, but what you need is to transform innovation into products and to be sure they're being built in France. Our France 2030 plan is based on sovereignty. Sovereignty doesn't mean that we are closing up. Sovereignty means that we don't want to depend on only one supplier or one region of the world to produce or to protect our citizens. But of course, foreign investors are really welcome to participate in the building of the new society, the new economy, the resilient economy, but also the green economy. And what we are doing is we are creating lots of ways for foreign investors to come and develop new sectors in the French economy. The money is there, huge money, because the total investment is 54 billion euros as the plan is being built. And one of the main objectives of this plan is decarbonization of the industry. As I mentioned, it is a huge challenge for our economy to take into account the climate change. So we really need to focus on the ecological transition. We also, of course, need to try to find innovation. So this plan is aiming at reducing the risk of looking for innovations, maybe trying and not succeeding. And I've just discussed at BIG, because BIG is a huge place to meet with a lot of companies. The company that just told me that thanks to this plan, they did in 2 years, or they will be doing in 5 years, what usually they do in 10 years, because usually they don't have this much amount of money to do things all together. And the amount of money that is being brought by France 2030 is a way to try, test, innovate, and then be sure that all the different innovations will come to market. And that's why we think it is of utmost importance for foreign investors to look at this plan, because lots of innovation won't come only from France. They can come from foreign investors. We need to have all the global companies, but also the industrial startups that can come from all around the world to contribute to this transformation of the economy. And we have some sectors where we think that there should be some efforts to be made. First, we have, as you can imagine, this energy crisis. We didn't wait for the energy crisis and for the Ukraine war to think about the importance of looking at nuclear reactor. So we have a program on small-scale nuclear reactor in France and trying to find the way to develop them. Of course, decarbonated hydrogen is a huge priority. We have lots of French companies that are today involved, those from the oil and gas even changing their way of producing, changing their priorities, but we know that not everything will come from France. Some components of the value chain will come from abroad, and they are most welcome in the huge hydrogen plan that we are promoting. Of course, we can reduce the temperature in buildings, or we can have a green mobility, but we also need to change the way we produce. So one of the main objectives of France 2030 is decarbonating our industry. And there again, there are many kind of solutions that will come from abroad, not only from France, but in France we will welcome all the technologies that will give us the opportunity to decarbonate the economy. As I mentioned, another priority sector that we think we should tackle is the mobility. We will have to produce vehicles, hybrids, electric vehicles, but those vehicles, they will be from the battery to the bodies, to the parts, and then to the recycling of those different parts, a huge sector in the future. So there again, there are many things we don't have yet in France, and we hope that we will have foreign investors coming in those fields. But in the green mobility, I also think about cycling. That's something I really like. We ask French population to go on bicycle, but we import lots of our bicycle. So I just a call for anybody that is watching this masterclass. If you are thinking about, if you have ideas, technology in the cycling industry, and you might think that France is not really no longer a country for the cycling industry, you're wrong. Come to see us. You will see that several regions in France, Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, Pays de la Loire, Occitanie, they have cluster, they develop the new mobilities, they are thinking on recycling the batteries, they want to welcome you to build the new cycling industry of tomorrow. They're thinking on, of course, the industry, the new uses of the vehicles, the training, everything that will be part of this mobility. So that is, of course, a field where we are really keen to have foreign investors. Another field is, of course, health and innovative and medical devices we really need, as everybody could see during the crisis, that there is a change in the way we can develop innovation. We can be really quick. We can develop a different therapy really quickly, but we need to put together different know-how. Lots of big companies said during the crisis, I did things that I thought I would never do because I went with a smaller company. We have lots of French companies in the health industry, and those companies that are really keen to work with other foreign companies in order to build together the capacities to innovate. I could give two other sectors, but I will just focus on one, that is agriculture. We need to find a new way to produce, and as you may know, and I was discussing before how France, we have all ideas about France, the country of good food and gastronomy, but this country is trying to build the gastronomy of tomorrow, the food safety of tomorrow, the new technologies, and agri-food, agri-tech, and all the agriculture sector will need to evolve to new habits, to new way to preserve the environment, and of course, this is a priority. So those are, in general world, the kind of sectors where we think we could welcome a new investment. And of course, if I focus a little bit on two sectors, as we all saw that chips were lacking everywhere in Europe because we didn't know how to build those chips, and we were dependent on imports. But we have a huge market that's more than 15 billion of revenue in the electronic components market. We have several companies, huge companies, that could be clients in the electronic industry. And we also have lots of people that could work in this industry. And I'm not talking about all the university and research and all the region around Grenoble that is really well known for the electronic industry. So in this industry, just as an example, we see that there is a market, there is a will, and France 2030 is a way to focus on the sector in order to attract and create the condition for new investments. And of course, renewable energies, it is in the future what every economy will need, and the France 2030 has put 2.3 billion euro in this plan in order to have at least 2 gigafactories of electrolyzer and all the different technologies for the hydrogen. As I mentioned before, we need to have hydrogen, but not any hydrogen, green one. So that is, we are one of the countries where we can really have this green hydrogen. And there are many global companies that are looking at France in order to invest and develop the market. Another focus I can make is the decarbonization of industry and transport. We can think of many things for the future, but if we don't change the way we produce, we won't change much. So this plan, France 2030, is a huge plan to transform the industry. And to transform the industry means that we will need some innovation, new way of producing, new way of building, new way of automatization of the industry. So there again, we can see that some startup from far away in the United States can come to France, and I saw one from California going to Pays de la Loire, near Angers, because they developed a technology that was really efficient, and they could find in the environment in the Pays de la Loire talents. They could find clients, could find more research. So we can see that we succeed in attracting new technologies, and this plan is to try to scale up, to try to do that for the whole economy. And the more you will have decarbonized industry, the more your clients will be sure to produce green, because if only one is producing green, but not the supply chain, you won't change the way the whole economy is working. And the chance of France is that we have a coherent, a real strategy, a view to transform the economy and to have this ecological transition that is an ecological transformation. It's not for just a little while. It's really reshuffling the cards of the future. So that is what I wanted to explain to you, that sometimes when you're here about France, you might keep some ideas about our country. We try to keep the best, the way of life, the infrastructure that everybody knows. We can cross France with the TGV, and it is getting the distance really closer. But also we are transforming our social laws, transforming our taxation laws. We are reducing red tape, and this combination of the traditional France and the innovation and the innovative France is, we believe, the best way to tackle the challenges of the future. And Business France is at your disposal when you think you might have a project that could be in Europe. We think it should be in France, and we can answer really tailor-made offers for you to find the financing if need be, find the talents, find the right location with the local government, because we are really keen to have you in France. Thank you very much, and I hope you will choose France. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I think there is a chat. I'll be happy to answer. If there is no question, I was really happy to be invited at BIG again. Thank you, BPI. We hope that we'll meet some of the people that watch in live or I think in replay. And we are at your disposal for any questions. Thank you very much.